Views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants. The hosts make no claim to be literary experts, and their opinions are exactly that, opinions. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories, and is being used under the Fair Use Doctrine.
Welcome to Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss romantasy stories. I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly. We also have Ashley.
Hey guys, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
What's good, everybody?
Hey. All right, so starting on the news, we've got Hemingway Books. Hemingway Books has a special edition of the Hunger Games books out, which are very pretty. I don't have any books by them, but I've heard and seen several of their special editions that they started to come out with. This set is $219 and it ships in November. But going through their website, they also have like special edition multiple Fourth Wings, Akatar, Throne of Glass, Quicksilver, Crimson Moth, When the Moon Hatched, Assistant to the Villain, Shield of Sparrows, and The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. Like basically, if it's a book you're more or less hearing people talk about newish, like they seem to have a special edition version of it. Like I said, I haven't seen the quality firsthand. I don't have any of their stuff. I don't think I've seen any of their stuff in person, but it looks really nice on the website.
Yeah, these are pretty stunning. I was when I came across it, I was like, is this a scam? Like, and I mean, $200 for 5 books. I think my only hesitancy for the Hunger Games is it seems like she's on a roll and I don't know that she's done.
Right.
Somebody posted, and I forget if it was on TikTok or what, but they were alleging that, it was the Hunger Games trilogy. So it was, Katniss's trilogy. And now this is like the Covey trilogy, which she has not admitted to out loud that I'm aware of. But it was just like it was like, bam, bro, you're probably right.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to break it up somehow. So
yeah.
So if you're interested in some really pretty special editions, they seem to be pretty available too. Like it's not like they're sold out or anything. I don't know if they print them, based on how many people buy them, but from the ones I looked through, they all seem to be available for purchase. So I would definitely look through that. If you're looking for special editions of any of those books. The next thing I have is Owl Crate is doing a special edition of The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, which I just finished this one over the weekend. I had a long car drive, and so I started reading it, and then I finished up just listening to it, and I liked it 110% more listening to it. It was really
interesting,
well done audio. Like it's got humor in it, and I wasn't getting the humor, I don't think, reading it, but listening to it, the humor hit really well. So if you're interested in that one, I would recommend listening to it. I've not read the fan fiction that it's based off of, so I don't have anything like that to compare it to. But I thought it was a good read. I'm planning on reading the sequel whenever it comes out. This particular version that Owl Crate is doing has dust jacket artwork by Ivy Maruva and design by Lichen and Limestone, and then the reversible dust jacket artwork is by Off the Hook Studio, and the hardcover case is designed by Dreka Dormiensis. If you go to Owl Crate's Instagram, they're all linked.
That sounds legit.
Yeah, it's all one word. Sorry if I'm not saying it right, but it's $34.99 and it ships in October. They're doing the whole thing where like Owl Crate normally does, where like the people who are subscribers get first options to buy, and then if they have any left over, they put it out to the general public. So the general public sale begins, assuming that they have some to sell, on Thursday, August the 28th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. But like I said, that just depends on if they have any stock to sell. So if that's something you're interested in, I would follow them on their Instagram. They usually do a good job of telling when things are sold out.
$35 sounds like a bargain.
If I hadn't already bought it, probably then.
Same.
Do you have this one, Ash?
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Yeah, I'm happy with the one I got.
I haven't read it, but I have read the fan fiction, and it was by far one of the best books that I've ever read in my entire life.
Wow. Okay. I thought this book was really
top
good.
tier. Like feet kicking, giggling.
I don't think you needed to know anything about like the fandom it's based on. Like I could easily see someone fully enjoying this book without knowing anything other than what's in this book, and I think it would still be a really good.
And I think I heard that was intentional. And my understanding is that this book is dramatically different than the fan fiction. So we're not talking about just, the swapping of names.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested to read it. I've heard both ends of the spectrum about whether people have liked the book or not. I know that there's a lot of hostility out there right now based, because of the fan fiction that things are based off of. But honestly, if her writing is anywhere near as good as the fan fiction itself, it's got to be superb. I enjoyed every second of it.
I'd love to know what you think when you read this, since you've read the original, fan fiction, so you'll know. You have something to compare it to. But like me going in just having read this book, I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I plan to listen to the sequel for sure.
That's good to know.
All right. Next little bit of news I have is Rebecca F. Kenny, who's an attending author at Romanticon. She's going to be releasing a Phantom of the Opera retelling. It's going to be called Cruel Angel. It's going to release April 14th, 2026 for $17.99. It's just in paperback. Often she does paperback on like, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, that kind of thing. But then on her website or her Etsy page, she might do special editions that are signed. I've got a few of her books that are hardcover special edition signed. She does really good, interesting retellings. So I'm curious to see what she's going to do with this story. She does a retelling of Krampus that I like, and she does a retelling of the Nutcracker ballet that I really enjoyed and thought was really, really well done. Yeah. I like her writing style.
Have we read Rebecca Kenny on here before? I feel like I've read her.
I would like to before the con if we get a chance to. Her books they're high spice, and she does really interesting character development.
Oh, this is A Court of Sugar and Spice, the Nutcracker retelling. Yeah. We've been talking about that.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list. I have that in the cart.
Yeah, I like that one. I read it, I think on Kindle Unlimited, and then bought it because I liked it so much. So it's on the shelf.
There's a Jack Frost one. Yeah, look at all.
I'm definitely gonna. That's definitely on my. I think I have it. I have the audio saved, and I have the physical in the cart, in the Amazon cart. That's one I want signed. So I'm definitely,
Maybe we can read that a little bit closer to your favorite time of year in September. Bring you some joy.
It could be a recovery book after
Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah, she's got those series. She's got series of some retellings of like classic books like Portrait of Dorian Gray, Wuthering Heights, and then she's got a dragon series. It's the Merciless Dragons series, which is the first thing I ever read by her was the Merciless Dragons series. And I enjoyed it. She writes really interesting stories. Next tidbit of news I have is that Barnes & Noble is doing a signed special edition of the Book of Azrael. I've not read this book. Has anyone else read it?
I have not read it, but I feel like I've heard very good things about it on the socials.
Is she going to be at the Romancy convention?
I don't think so.
Amber v. Nicole?
I'm not sure. I didn't double check that. I don't think so. Look into that. I will say that I've heard good things about this series for a while, and it's a series, I think it's maybe three books, but it's basically described as a slow burn, high stakes, epic romantasy featuring a villainous shapeshifter heroine and a tortured god king in a steamy, monstrous world. So it's been on my list for a minute because all that sounds right up my alley.
Right in there too. Yeah.
So this version is very pretty. It's got like the design all over it, and it's signed if you get it through Barnes & Noble for $32.95, which is not at all bad.
No, not at all.
I just checked the list. She's not on the list to do that, to be there. I know, right?
But yeah, I've heard good things. I've not read it, but I've heard good things. So maybe we can read that sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. I like the way it sounds a lot. Yeah.
The next thing I have, I cannot type on these news. Misspelling people's names. Bookish Box is doing a collaboration with CM Nascosta, who wrote, amongst other things, the Morning Glory Milking Farm that we read. She's got the whole Cambric Creek series. So they're doing a special edition of the Cambric Creek series, and they are so pretty. They feel like
look at that.
spring, summer, flower vibes. It's like a little bouquet of books.
It really is. Oh, look at like the Pinterest board.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really beautiful. It's $190. But they're very pretty editions. It's got Morning Glory Milking Farm, Sweet Berries. Is it Full-Blooded?
Moon-Blooded Breeding Clinic.
Yeah.
2 for Tea. Welcome to Azathi, and He Loves Me Not.
Yeah.
1,
I've read
2,
all of these.
3, 4, 5.
They're all very good. My favorite is probably Sweet Berries. It's like a Mothman, but he's like a scientist in this Cambric Creek town. So it's a little bit of like on the spectrum, kind of it's a short little book. Romance. I like that one. And I like the Forget Me Not. It's a retelling of You've Got Mail.
Oh, I like You've Got Mail.
His ears perked up.
They're all well done. I mean, they're very much like Morning Glory Milking Farm was, where it's like, yes, it's a spicy monster romance. And it also has all these really interesting things to say about modern society and people's relationships and, standing up for yourself and found family and the importance of like being accepted. And yeah, they're all very much along the lines of Morning Glory Milking Farm in quality. If you like Morning Glory Milking Farm, I highly recommend everything else I've read by her, everything else she's written. So
yeah, Fox.
Fox.
That's a wait. Was that You've Got Mail? Yeah. What were was that the you said
may
it was
have seen
right?
You've Got Mail maybe once when it first came out, and I've never
Tom
seen
Hanks
it since.
movies.
So I know that it's a retelling of it, but I honestly haven't seen it in so long. I only know that it's a retelling. I don't remember hardly anything from that movie.
It's Tom Hanks doing regular Tom Hanks stuff.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks is like, who the new Tom Hanks is who's that fella who was in who's the Mandalorian, and he's got like 8 movies out right now.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, that's our new daddy. That's our new Tom Hanks. That's the millennial Tom Hanks.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Pedro's in a class all his own.
Don't take that from me, Ashley.
I mean,
I gotta say I'm with Ash on this.
Yeah. Though oddly, I don't think they're terribly far apart in age, are they?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway.
All right, the last little bit of news I have is that Julie DeSoto, who wrote Rose and Chain, which is another fan fiction turned into a book, is one of the authors that has mutually agreed to not be at Romance Con. So apparently Romance Con is run by Mischief Management, which originally started as a Harry Potter fan business company. And they run, amongst other things, Romance Con. And there was controversy from the public, from the fans, that having Julie DeSoto there was an endorsement of Rowling. And so people were like pulling out and trying to call him out on this. And I guess through mutual agreement, Julie DeSoto just kind of pulled out of it. It's interesting because I am now in the middle. I'm about 35% through Rose and Chain. And much like The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, if I didn't know that it was based off of fan fiction, it really is its own world. Like, I don't need to have any prior knowledge of anything so far to understand what's going on, to know the vibes of the characters, to get a feel for their personalities. So
I think some of the beef with that, and I very well could be wrong, I didn't deep dive into this because I think we're all entitled, to our own feelings, and about how we consume art, right? And the things that we're willing to invest in and the things that we are not willing to. But that part aside, I think some of the initial pushback with Julie DeSoto was that her marketing team was like heavily advertising the fanfic, and this being a retelling of that. And I think that's what put a bad taste in some mouths. And so I think the people too that run the convention kind of doubled down on why they were making some of the choices that they were about the other side of the business. And then that just kind of fueled the fire, right? I think we all know that fan fictions don't benefit original authors,
Right.
right? But I can see the view of, bringing attention and light to some things and then, giving that author, it's like speaking it into existence, I guess, with some of the perception of the people who do not want to associate or engage or invest in, a particular author anymore. So I really think it's unfortunate overall, how everything went down. Because if I'm not mistaken, JKR despises all the fan fictions.
That's a money thing. I think the hard part for me, and this is where I kind of couldn't separate the two sort of things, was here's this person who I think is being punished by bookish folk for just being inspired by. And I think that I think at some point we just have to allow for people to we just have to understand, like, hey, when everything was on the up and up, this person inspired a bunch of people to get involved in this genre, and it was a big part of a lot of people's childhood. And yeah, although it really took a turn in a negative way for the author, we can't expel or we can't hold somebody else's actions against somebody who doesn't feel that way. So I got confused on like social media. Like I just started asking questions about this because I was like, hey, so is Julie like anti? And
No,
they were
no.
like, oh no.
Yeah,
And
Julie's
I was like, I don't
up and up,
understand
on
then
the up and
why
up from
we're
everything I
not
know.
doing this. Say it to me like I'm a toddler. Patronize me because I still don't understand why we're kicking Julie out or why this is even a thing. Like, I understand why we don't listen. I understand why. I think we all know that. I understand why we don't like Jobro. Cool. I support not liking that. I don't understand why we don't like Julie.
Yeah,
So-
I think it was a series of unfortunate events that
Yeah.
really just snowballed. I think Julie was kind of I don't know. It was.
It sounded interesting though. It was an English accent and everything.
I think Julie was the tip of the iceberg, and I think she was almost the sacrificial lamb. I think this has more to do with the company that is hosting the event. And I know that more authors have canceled their trips entirely, to the detriment of their own pockets because of how the event coordinators have kind of doubled down. It's unfortunate because I can argue both sides. I don't have anybody in the game, so maybe I would feel more passionately about it. There seems to be a part of the community that wants a safe space to enjoy the fandom still is part of the argument. But I think a much larger, louder part of the argument is saying, don't breathe life into her anymore. It's hurting us.
Yeah, my viewpoint on fan fiction is I believe that a lot of authors have used the fan fiction space, like Archive of Their Own and whatnot, as a spot to like as a way to develop their writing skills, where they couldn't necessarily write a book and get someone to pick it up and give them feedback on it. Something in a setting like AO3 and like a fan fiction setting, you do get feedback on it and you get to develop your craft. I'm not a writer, but I believe writing, like every art form, you start off real rough, no matter how much, talent you may have. You start off rough and then you get better the more you fine tune your skills. And I think fan fiction has been a way to get some people to do that. And then they later make the jump to self-publishing or to traditional publishing. I don't think that there's anything wrong with the idea of your works being derived from someone else if you do afterwards make the world your own. So, for example, Dungeons and Dragons, heavily derivative of Tolkien. You can't tell me it's not. The dwarves, the elves, like it's all Tolkien. But now it's its own thing because they've created their own world off of it. Like you don't necessarily have to have read Tolkien to understand something in Dungeons and Dragons. Much like these books, you don't have to have read the original material to be able to enjoy and understand these books that are now basically their own books. I'm no longer a fan of Rowling. I don't support Rowling. Trans life matters. Trans rights are human rights. But I think that they worked it out mutually. Like the way it was worded on both the author page and the con page was that it was a mutual agreement for them to step out. So I don't know that there's any necessarily bad blood between them two. But yeah, in my ideal world, I think Julie DeSoto should be able to get in there and sell that. Because it's not like that's the only thing she's ever done. Like she has other books that have nothing to do with,
sure,
And
I think that was part of the argument was because somebody in the marketing team was advertising like heavily the Hermione fanfic being, that this being a spinoff or a retelling of that. And I mean, we're seeing that this year, right? Julie DeSoto's not the only fanfic artist dropping a retelling. I mean, Sin Lin Yu is all over the socials right now. This is a big deal, come September. And to be able to say why it's a big deal means that we're going to have to talk about the fanfic, right?
Yeah.
But again, these aren't the only two. The Hurricane Wars is based off of a fanfic. Allie Hazelwood has done a book off of a fanfic. Like,
yeah,
it's a tough space, and I think these are important conversations. But I disagree with punishing or attacking the artist for doing a retelling or somebody in the marketing team. I think this is a lesson that can be learned, and we should be able to move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Book people are feral.
Yes, we are passionate. We have big feelings.
I think a lot of fans do.
More energy.
I think a lot of fans do. Whether it's books, whether it's video games, whether it's movies, like people are devoted to their fandoms and usually have things to say.
Yeah, I agree. I have not washed my my game day apparel since last season. It remains right where I left it on Super Bowl Sunday. It has been there, and I will don it again in September, unwashed. We keep the stench of victory.
We respect certain cults in this household.
Any other news from anybody else?
Just that little trinket of a treat that Rebecca dropped on
a random Sunday.
Yeah, that she's and
girl.
Like, so not even that it's like plot worthy or like crazy news, but just that her mind is in that space for the next edition.
Already. Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, I'm glad for her because I know for a while she was like not happy in that space. She was having trouble getting back into the Empyrean.
Yeah, she was burnt out.
So I'm glad she's able to get back to it, hopefully in a healthy way.
And enjoy it, yeah.
Right. Anything else?
No, I think we covered it.
All right, so on to the book review. Why we chose this book is because the author is going to be one of the attending authors at Fabled Fantasies Romanticon event in October in Orlando. So I'm going to read the synopsis. This book was published October 8th, 2024 as part of the Mating and Monsters series. And here is the synopsis. Darla Drake, Duchess of Death, is a legendary monster who has haunted the woods around Camp Clear Creek for years, until an existential crisis forces her to take a sabbatical from wreaking havoc on pimply teens while she figures out what she really wants from the rest of her possibly infinite life. But what does a monster do when her malevolent days are over? For Darla, it's spending time with the decapitated yet still overbearing head of her mother. Reading romance novels, she steals from campers, and struggling with one monstrous case of melancholy. Until Jarko Murkvale arrives in Clear Creek and turns Darla's life upside down. Jarko is a conceited, arrogant, infuriating, and unfortunately for Darla, kind of hot. And with the Duchess of Death on the shelf, Jarko has staked his claim on Camp Clear Creek. But Darla refuses to go down without a fight, and so in order to reclaim her territory, she challenges Jarko to a series of hunts to see who the most fearsome monster really is. But the more mayhem they cause, the more Darla begins to realize there's more to this brash monster than she believed, and that Jarko may just be the antidote to her ennui. But there's a reason Jarko came to Clear Creek, and in order to fill her 9-chambered heart, Darla will have to unravel the mystery of who this closed-off monster really is. And if they can manage to not literally tear each other limb from limb, Darla and Jarko might just find that couples who slay together stay together. Can I just say that for my just even the teeniest bit of Hispanic accent I have, the name Jarko, like, oh my God, it plays with me so bad. Hardest time saying it.
Well, you did a good job.
Thank you. What did we think of this book, guys?
I loved this book. I didn't inhale it. I did take my time with it, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I was disappointed to find out that book 2 doesn't come out until whopping like mid 2026.
I know.
I was very distraught at that, especially because it was published in early 24. But I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the banter, the sarcasm, the relationship between Darla and her mother, Darla and her best friend, Darla and Jarko. Like, we really saw a lot of her. I think I would have liked it more if we had fleshed out Jarko a little bit, but like maybe that's book 2. Who am I to tell the author what to do, right? I was also, this is mildly sexist of me, but I was surprised it was written by a boy because I really enjoyed this book. So it's a 5 because I would probably reread it, and I think this would make a fantastic little mini series.
Okay. Kelly, what did you think?
I thought the book wasn't terrible. It was definitely a different type of read than we've done recently. So the humor in it was nice to get a break from some stuff that's always constantly serious romance stuff. Yeah, I think Jarko was a little one-dimensional, but he wasn't the focus character of the story, so that is what it is. I think the head of the overbearing mother was pretty funny, so that was definitely an amusing twist to the mother guilt trip type stuff. I don't know. I think my overall rating for this was a 3.
Okay. This is not my first time reading it. So I first read it in January of this year. And I swear I thought the sequel was supposed to come out this year. So I think it maybe originally was supposed to come out this year and then got pushed back. But I reread it for this. And for me overall it was a 3.5. I enjoyed it, but I think I was wanting more out of it. So when I see that something's a monster romance and when I see that something's kind of like a rom-com, I have certain expectations. I really like my rom-coms to be dual point of view. I think it gives you a better insight into the heads of the people in the relationships. And we mainly, for the most part, only get Darla's point of view. So for me, it was okay. I think I was just expecting a little bit more to get into both of their heads. And I was expecting a little bit more, like there were things in the world that didn't quite make sense to me. And I actually gave it a little bit higher on the reread. The first time I read it, it was 3 stars. This time it's 3.5. I find Darla to be unlikable for me. And that made it hard to enjoy it because it was like from her viewpoint. But I think she's supposed to be unlikable. I think she's miserable, and so she's not happy. She's having her nervous breakdown, take time away from her job kind of thing. But I don't know that I really like the way that it got resolved. Like, I feel like basically because they had a meet cute and they liked each other, then, she got over her midlife crisis or whatever she was having, and then he got over his grief just because they got together. And I think I wanted more out of it. So 3.5 stars for me. There were things I liked about it, things I wanted more of. I'll still probably read the sequel because I'm kind of interested in where it's going to go from here and who the sequel's about. But overall, 3.5 stars. Jonathan?
I like this one. I like this one a lot. I gave it 5 stars. It was, although I'll say this, I don't think that the synopsis aligns with the story. I think the synopsis goes a little bit deeper and can be misleading. And like, I didn't get that sense of what I got was like a cozy rom-com out of this. And it just, the subjects just happen to be monsters. But I feel like this story could apply to almost any rom-com aside from like killing, but like you maybe take your foot off the gas in a corporate world and somebody comes into season opening, right? That kind of thing. And then you end up falling in love with your competitor. And I feel like it was almost this show and tell vibe for their like dual hunt. Like anything you can do, I can do better. Like I can run faster than you. I hear you want to get in there and just rip people apart. Let it marinate, bud. Let's see what happens. Let it develop. Shake it like a Polaroid picture. And so it ticked those boxes of like a fun read. And when I picked this book up off the shelf, I did the same thing. I read it back in January too. We were at a local bookshop reopening. Like they had moved locations to a bigger location. They were like, hey, let's reopen and do a thing. And so they were doing that. And my sisters and I, we went up to this reopening, and I was like kind of looking around. I was the only dude there. I was like way out of place. And I was like, And then I saw this book on like a shelf, and it was just alone. It's the only one it was just there. And I was like, you know what? The cover of this book just looks delightful. And then I said, I'll take this one. And then when I started reading it, I was like, oh, this is fun. There were it was very predictable. It was very, I don't know if is hokey the right word?
Campy.
Campy, yeah.
It wasn't deep. It was very much 120 minutes of Tom Hanks and like very basic rom-com stuff. Like who else would have been? Matthew McConaughey, and what movie was he in with another lady? That kind of stuff.
Kate Hudson.
Yeah, what is that? 10 Things I Hate About You, or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days?
How to Lose a Guy in 10
That's
days.
what that. Yeah, this was like How to Lose a Guy in 10 days. Like I'm not getting deep stuff. I'm gonna find the mistakes, but on soup and sandwich night, that's what you put on, and that's how I felt about this one. 5 stars.
Nice. What do we think about the world building, the fantasy and world building of it?
So I think for me, I was super intrigued about how they coexist in the modern world. So like this monster world is part of modern day, right? And I didn't write anything down, and I probably should have, but like all of like the plethora of names, right? So different monsters, different names. Every monster seems to be dramatically different from the other, like even from parent to child. I think her BFF was pregnant for what, like 4 years or something. It was something outrageous.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there just seemed to be this immersion of monster world in modern day. They were aware of technology. Some of them were more into it than others. Darla had, bare minimum concept of technology, mostly to keep her mother's head entertained. Like, it was like a whole thing, but she existed on Pop-Tarts and camp dehydrated food. It was absolutely wild to me. I had such a fun time just kind of listening to how they navigate the human world. Like, if a camp has been the scene of multiple murders and mayhem for 80 years, you'd think they'd shut down the camp. But no, it kept on going. I was entertained, and so for that, it was like a 3.5 for me. I was super entertained the whole time. Like I wasn't questioning anything. It kept me laughing enough to where I wasn't concerned about it being unrealistic.
What do you think, Kelly?
So like Ashley, I was like, how is this camp still open when there are continual multiple murders? Some of them videotaped.
Stop.
Right? Like they said that some of the kids had recorded some of the sightings and stuff on their camera, on their phone. So, yeah, whatever, you take it for what it is. It's a piece of fantasy literature. I did find it, kind of amusing that they were calling out some of the different, like, mythological monsters in American history and stuff like that, trying to, do the whole cryptid angle. So that was amusing. So it was a different approach, so amusing. I liked the whole idea of, like, the monsters had this, basically system of assigning territory that was updated online, and Darla had no idea about any of that because she doesn't use any technology and, just threw away any mail she got. So that was kind of amusing. So I like the idea that it was some kind of like whole system of monsters and monster governance that was going on somewhere. So all of that was interesting and different. It added some to the story. So I said for fantasy, it was a 3.5.
So for me, the fantasy world building is probably was the most interesting aspect of it. I gave it a 4 because it was interesting to me that there's this human world that these monsters live in, and yet either there are monsters developing technology and creating these smartphone-like devices and getting them out to every monster out there, or there's like humans that are like there's like a human monster government entity that's like tracking all this. I was really curious about the whole monster finder utility thing. Like, who made that? Whose idea was that? How are they getting it? How is that being updated? And then like this read through, I'm like, how did Darla's friend Greta see that Darla was like losing her spot on this thing, because Greta had the monster finder utility thing, and not say anything to her best friend about it at all? It'd be like sitting there like your neighbor and friend having a foreclosure sign going up on their front yard and not saying anything about it. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about the different monsters and how they live and where they're from. So I'm curious about the world. It was a really interesting world. Led me to have questions, which, I mean, means good world building because I want to know more about it. So for me, the world building aspect of it was a 4.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I agree with that. I think a 4 is good. I liked that the two worlds coexisted. They kind of banged into each other. I like that they understood that what each person's role is, and I think or what each creature or being's position is. Like the kid who took out Darla's mom was like, hey, he lived in fear the rest of his life, so it was like they knew, but it was accepted that, the same way we know that a bear exists. And it just seems like if you're not a jerk, they're not showing up at camp. Although
not in modern day, but like back in the day, apparently if you fooled around with your girlfriend, that was good enough to get you dead.
they're very conservative. The punishment didn't fit the crime for sure, but yeah, extremely conservative. And just the idea that everybody had different powers, or how, like, I liked that they had mixers, or that they had, I wasn't scared by these monsters. I was entertained by these monsters and understood that I understood their purpose. And so there's a lot I could look past, like the idea that they have indestructible iPads, or you could tell it was fantasy because she had pockets.
Shut up. Jeez.
They made mention of that, didn't they? It was the author is definitely a feminist, as am I. But he definitely touched on those points in an almost like comedic way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So a 4.
Okay. What do we feel about the romance in this?
This was very kindergarten for me, but I guess in Darla's defense, like she didn't know, right? She never. I mean, she had a boyfriend. The boyfriend was mid. She had never been in love before, right? And so we all stumble through that in our first major discovering of big feelings. It was very cute. It was a little, little boy likes her, so he pulls her hair for me. But in the end, I appreciated how Jarko was like, oh man, I fucked up. I have to go do this big thing. Actions, not just words, right? It was a little fast in that evolution of thoughts and feelings for me, but it was a shorter book. So, I feel like they packed in a lot of information in a short amount of time. It was a 3 for me. It was okay. It could have been better. It could have been worse.
What'd you think, Kelly?
I thought it was very, very not, I don't want to use the word kindergarten, but it was very PG when it comes to the romance. Very safe, cutesy, but not terribly exciting. I guess it's appropriate in the sense of like a rom-com, PG Tom Hanks movie. So I also said a 3.
Okay. For me, I went with the romance being a 2. And the reason for me giving it that is I felt like, for me, this goes back to the viewpoint situation. I felt like I could see why Darla falls in love with Jarko. Like, everything he did to woo her, everything he did to pull her out of her shell. Like, I see why she fell for him. I don't see the other side of it. Like, I don't know what caused Jarko to fall for Darla. It didn't come across for me, so it felt very one-sided. I felt like Jarko was putting in all the work and Darla was getting all the benefits, and I wasn't buying the romance. It just didn't work for me. So it was a 2.
I'm going to go slightly higher. I'm going to give it a 4. I feel like they needed each other, and they intersected at the right time in each other's lives. And while they were both escaping something, one, the monotony of their responsibilities and just longing for more, longing for companionship and personal growth, and the other was escaping, their past. I think that they both sort of indirectly rescued each other and found love. And for that, I'll give it a 4 for romance.
Okay. What do we think about the spice?
Oh, there was no spice. There was there was like some salt, but no pepper in the spice for me. I'd say a 1.5 because there was some illusion to spice. I would have liked way more, like some paprika or chili powder. I think I enjoy chili powder more than paprika, so I'm gonna change that to just the chili powder. It was like a 1.5. There was barely any spice. There was barely any kissing. But for a lot of the book, they were trying not to kill each other, but also try to kill each other. So there's that.
Yeah. Kelly?
I think it was a 1. There was just hints, but I didn't expect much of the way of spice once the book started going, and kind of got the feel for that it was definitely more of a PG type story. So I don't know that I really expected a lot after you got a little bit into the book, but overall a 1.
Yeah, I gave it a 1. I like sriracha. I like tahini. I like all the spice, jalapenos, all of it. I like spice in my rom-coms. I like spice in my monster romance. I like spice in my romantasy. So yeah, this is a closed door romance, and really all you get is like there's a little bit of innuendo talk, and I think if you know that going in, if you're fine with that going in, that's fine. But it was a little bland for me, so I'm gonna give it a 1 because there was innuendo. That was it.
Okay. I'll give it a 2. There wasn't the spice that was there was just implied, and I think initially when I read this book back in January, it forced me to reconfigure my calculator in order to incorporate the monster rom-com. So it didn't have the, it was implied. It was what other pieces of you grow kind of thing was one of the lines. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I thought, yeah, that's how I ended up with a 2.
Okay. Do we think, is it a kissing book?
I'm always surprised by this question. I'm not sure why. I think it's a kissing book for how the ending came about, right? So like we got closure with her mom and her mom's body, right? Jarko went literally to what is the worst place for a monster to be, to go get answers, to track down mom's missing body, because monsters can rapidly heal, right? And so if her head could exist without her body, then her body can exist without the head, but they can't find each other to it's not echolocation. So I mean, in the sense that Darla got her mojo back, right? She was able to go be a monster again and be happy with that. And also in the evolution of Darla as, growing up and evolving as a being, as an entity. She maybe could have done that without Jarko, but I don't know that she ever would have found her mom's body without Jarko. And I don't know that she would have gotten back in the game as quick without Jarko. I think because the problem of this book was more emotional than it was something literal or physical, this is a little bit harder to gauge. But I would say, yeah, it's a kissing book. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that we would have gotten to where we did in the time frame that we did if it weren't.
Kelly, what do you think?
I mean, I think along the same lines. I think that it is a kissing book because the plot advancement and the resolution and everything required the romance angle. So it's definitely a kissing book in that context.
Yeah, I agree. I also say it's a kissing book for the same reason. Like, nothing would have happened if it wasn't for the romance. Like, they probably just would have been stuck kind of in where they were at the beginning of the story, to be honest. So I would say yes, it's a kissing book.
So, and I hear every one of you.
Shut up right now.
You just got to be contrary, don't you?
Nah, I'm messing with you. I think it's a kissing book. But I'll say, like, I feel like this book for us was destined to be a kissing book because I'm pretty sure that the author shouts us out in the very beginning of this podcast of the book.
Yeah, there's a of Swords and Soulmates is like the book that she likes to read. I think it is that Darla likes to read.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that name sounds familiar.
He's probably a fan.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
If you're listening,
Mr. Brody.
Yeah, if you're listening, when I show up at the convention,
we have questions.
And I don't know that I have questions, but when I hand you my copy of the book to read, I think it's one of the ones that I've read harder than the others. So it's not in its exact shape. You should still sign it. Thank you.
It's 10% into the book. Darla, she picked up a book called Swords and Soulmates. I highlighted it. I'm like, interesting.
We see you.
See you.
Yeah. I will also say that after I finished reading this book, I thought about it and the whole, like, the couple who stays together thing. And I will give some recommendations to readers. If you enjoyed this book and you like the whole idea of the whole, like, those who slay together, stay together, I would also recommend The Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. It's a really good audiobook. They're humans. There's no monsters in it. They're humans, but they're serial killers who hunt bad guys, and it's a romance story. It's funny. It's spicy, and it's got more gore. It definitely has more gore.
I was going to say, I thought it was like a darker spice too, but if it's just normal spice, that's fun.
I don't think that
I thought
the actual
they got
spice is dark. I mean, I don't think it ruins anything. It's like the very first chapter. How they meet is like killing just happened and kidnapping situation. So like,
cool.
It's a little dark from at the beginning, but then you're like, I guess this is just a serial killer life. You know, I don't know.
It's just how they roll.
I guess. I mean, it's a good audiobook, and it's a couple stays together kind of vibes. The second one would be A Soul to Touch by Opal Rain. This is part of her Dustwalker Bride series. It's book 3 in that series. And this was one where a monster and a human have a relationship and they hunt demons together. Also spicy. The third book that came to mind was You Suck, A Love Story by Christopher Moore. And it's basically a newish young vampire and her boyfriend that didn't know she was a vampire, and she just accidentally turned him into a vampire, and the hijinks that ensue. It's a little bit of an older book, but it's comedic. It's closed door, but it's very funny. And then for a movie recommendation, if you like the whole couple who stays together thing, I would recommend the gem that is the 2015 movie Mr. Right. It's an action comedy rom-com with Anna Kendrick and Samantha Rockwell.
Oh, we love Anna Kendrick.
She's good. That's why I watched it. She was in it, and they're so good. The story is unhinged, but it's funny, and it's very like almost wacky, I would say. But like a lot of humor, humor hits different for different people, so it may not hit. A lot of people don't like it, but I think it's good. So, anything else we want to say about this before I do the outro?
I'd like to see the next one. So,
same.
Although it may not have been as spicy as some of the others that we read, I thought it was a fun book, and I think like if you're a listener who's looking for like maybe even a fun standalone YA solution, this could be a good answer to that.
Yeah, it's like a summer rom-com kind of vibe. Yeah. All right. Anything else before I finish us up?
No, I like this book. I was a big fan.
Yeah.
I was very sad. June 2026, June.
Yeah.
I was, sir.
Well, he does write under a different name, and he writes thrillers, and he's got a lot more books under his thriller name. So I'm assuming he's just had to move like publishing dates around. I don't know how many other books he has, but I know there's more under the thriller name. So, if that's his main bread and butter, he might have had to like prioritize something else over this. So, All right. Well, thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check the show notes, rate, review, and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. It helps others to find us. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, or Goodreads at Of Swords and Soulmates. Check us out on our website, ofswordsandsoulmates.com. If you'd like to offer a suggestion for a future episode or reach out to us in any way, feel free to do so on any of the messaging options or email us. If you want to read along with us as we prep for a new episode and get chapter by chapter interactions, join our Fable app book club by searching for the Of Swords and Soulmates book club on there. And last but not least, we hope you'll join us in 2 weeks for our next episode where we will be discussing My Minotaur Husband by Leon Riley. She's another author who's set to be at the Romantasy event. Bye.
Awesome.
Yay.